Hey Rick, so this is going to be a tutorial on how to create the buttons that you asked for in the Fusion Builder. Let me get this out of the way and look at your email. Okay, so you wanted website, contact, and video, and maybe a couple others, but if you need more, it'll be easy to do once you see this. So let's go to a Bridge Leader page. Come here to Bridge Leaders. And let's go to Matt and Joanna Rabsmith, just because we always pick on them. And you can see that here is the Fusion Builder. Now, if you don't see this, it's because this has been done. So if you see that it looks like this, just click Fusion Builder, and there you go. So this is all, the top level element here is a container. You can name your container. Let's just name this one like that. I'll put it back like it was, just so it's consistent with everything else. Anyway, you can name them if you want to. So if you have multiple containers on a page, you can use that to remind yourself what is inside each one. Then inside here, this box is the column. And this is currently a full-size column. That's why it says 1 to 1. If you wanted it to be half width, you can do that, or a third, or any other fraction you see there. But we just need full width on this. So we can do this. Well, I'll show you two ways. First, I'll show you how to do it using the Fusion Builder interface, and then I'll show you how to do it just on the default. Either way, it's going to make use of Fusion Builder shortcodes. But this element here is, I think, yes, this is a text block. So what we're going to want to do is come to the end of everything. I'll just do this on the text because it's easier to make sure I'm after all the code. Why is there a T here? Doesn't matter. Okay. I will just come down here. Now this is the button you're going to look for. It's a little cube-looking thing, green and blue, Fusion Builder Element Generator. So just click that, and then the first thing it wants you to do is create columns, but ignore that, click the Builder Elements tab, and click Button. And then you get this handy interface. So you want the button URL to be, assuming it's going to the portal. I don't know any of the portal shortcodes, but let's just, for whatever reason, make this a button that goes to Google. There we go. So that'll go to Google. The button text here, this is what users see when they see the button. So let's just call this go to Google. Title attribute. This is invisible to the end user, but it's sometimes useful for search engines to catalog your site. Lots of things in your HTML code can take a title attribute. You don't need to do it, but it can sometimes help with SEO. So let's just call it Google button. And then button target. This determines whether it's going to take you to this link in the current browser window or whether it's going to open a new tab. Since we're leaving the Bridges site, it's best to set it to blank so that it opens a new tab. That way no one clicks a link and closes the Bridges site. Alignment, that's fine. Modal window anchor, I don't even know what that is. You can ignore that. Element visibility. So this, as you know, the site is responsive, which means it changes a little bit based on the size of the screen you're looking at it on, and that is why we have a mobile version and a desktop version, even though we've only coded one version of the site. So right now all three are selected. There's three different sizes you can look at it at. If you deselect anything, if I do this, that button is not going to be visible on people's phones. So make sure they're all three selected. CSS class and CSS ID. These are just for styling purposes. I believe you know what CSS classes and IDs are, but it's basically just a way to tag this element so that I can style it in the CSS. Not going to do those right now, but I could. So just to review, this is the URL. This is where the button's going. This is what the button says on it. This is just a title attribute for the code that users don't see. And this tells us that we're going to be opening a new tab when we click the button. So that is it functionality-wise. Design-wise, you can come here to this Design tab and sort of define what the button looks like. Default is probably fine. I think all of the buttons that we currently use are using the default Avada theme. Button type is default, flat, or 3D. I've never used anything but default, but you're welcome to choose those and see what they look like. Button size default, button span default. I'm going to leave all these on default, but you have these options here if you want to see what a button looks like if you make it a little different. Animation, this is what happens when you click it, I think. Yeah, and we're not going to do any of those, but these are available if you want there to be a little animation when people click. So that's it. Now we hit insert, and boom, there's a button right there. Let's hit update. And when this is done, I'm going to go look at the page. So there's our Go to Google button, which we just created. And if I click it, it opens a new tab because we selected that blank button. So that's that. Now, how do you get several of them across? Quite simply, you come here and hit columns. Actually, you could do this one of two ways. You could do it in here and nest these columns inside the current column, which actually is what you might want to do for this. Or you could come here and create a set of columns that are outside the current column. For right now, I'll do that. And then all you got to do is the same thing. In fact, I'm just going to copy the code. And then you can put one button here. Actually, that's kind of silly, isn't it? So you could do the same thing we just did by putting a text block and then putting the button code in there by using that button. Or instead of adding a text block, you could just add a button by clicking that. Let me show you again in case that was too fast. Just click element inside the column. And where you would have chosen text block, just choose button. So the fun thing about these is they can all be nested kind of any way you want. You know, if you create a column, you can put a text block in it, and then you can put anything inside that text block. So that's what I did the first time. You know, I put the button inside the same text block with all the content. Or you can just put it inside its own column without a text block. So I'll do it that way. I mean, you already saw me do all this part of it anyway, because this part is the same. I'm going to skip the attribute for now. Put at blank. Then let's add a second button in the next column. What'll this be? I don't know. I guess that's probably a website. Don't worry, I'll delete all these. And then the next one, I don't know. Let's just go to the home page. And the last one, I don't know. What's a site? Here's a site I go to sometimes. So that, you know, this is basically what it's going to look like on the front end. One big column above, 4 little columns below. Let's go here and refresh. And there they are. Those are all of our buttons. So hopefully that's pretty straightforward. Let me delete these real quick, just because we don't actually want all of those. And then I also promised I was going to show you how to do it in the regular WordPress editor, which I think you're a little more used to. All this Fusion Builder really does is it creates a GUI, a graphical user interface, to display what shortcodes are doing. So if you come to the regular editor, you still have this element generator button. And you can still generate the elements the same way that I just showed you. Container, columns, nested columns, or builder elements. And again, under builder elements, there's your button. So if you do it from here, you're going to see that it just creates this shortcode. But the effect on the front end will be the same as what we did before. I haven't saved that, so these should all disappear when I refresh. Yes. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense to you. I know different people work differently. I highly recommend doing it in the Fusion Builder just because you can see the layout before you go live with it. It really helps to be able to, for example, drag a column around. There's a button, but I want that button over there. It's over there. So that's why I like the Fusion Builder, just because it shows you the layout before you go with it. But there you go. I hope that this tutorial made sense. If it doesn't, please let me know, and we'll try and figure out another way to do this.